Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
My name is Stu Bramall, and I call it. Thank you all for coming this morning. And I want to thank Gene for inviting me to participate here. It's the first time I've ever been in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I've been around in Indiana, but I've never been to Fort Wayne, and it's a pleasure being here. Well, thank Mike for picking us up at the airport and corresponding, and we waited around and picked up. My friend Jack came in about 45 minutes later, flew in, so we had a chance to do a little talking. And Jack's speaking this afternoon at 1:30. I don't care where you eat your lunch, get back here at 1:30, you're going to hear a fascinating story from this man here, so don't miss that meeting. And I'm excited because I'm also getting a chance to hear a lot of speakers I've never heard before at this conference, and I want to thank you for inviting them. My home group is the Curtis Bay Noon Meeting. We meet at used to be the Flamingo Lounge bar that is now the community center for the Church on the Rock. And a lot of us guys used to drink in that bar, and the church bought all the property and turned to community center. So now our AA group meets in there. And how ironic, when they still have the bar in there and everything, that we feel so comfortable in there at our meeting. It was amazing. I got sober young, and I was involved in a lot of young people's meetings when I was younger, and now that I've gotten older, that meeting attracts a lot of old timers and older people in that group. We meet at Monday at 12 noon. It's a little discussion meeting. We only have 22 members in our home group, but we have 478 years of sobriety with those 22 members, and what attracts other old timers. So it's nothing to go in there on a Monday and see 60, 70 old-time AA members. I remember I came into AA, asked my sponsor, I said, "What's an old-timer?" He said, "Anybody sober longer than you." I was blessed. My sobriety date is March the 12th, 1966. And thank you. So I've completed 41 years. I'm on 42nd year of sobriety today, a day at a time. In fact, one of the guys in my area, every time you go to an anniversary, he tells you how many days you've been sober. So he calls me up the other day and he says, next Sunday, he said, you'll be sober 15,000 days. I thought, wow. I remember I was sitting there on the front seat just trying to get one day in, let alone 15,000. If I knew I was going to stay sober this long, I would have studied law, would have read more and studied harder to hope I could have something to say here, But it's a delight. I came in AA when I was 23 years of age. I didn't stay sober. I went back. I came back when I was 25 years of age, and I'm now 66. I'll be 67 next month. And I'm one of these guys who's excited about being sober. I love being sober. And I think you better get enthused about being sober. You may get enthused about getting drunk. And so I try to stay enthused, excited about it. I mean, I'm laying in my bed this morning, that big fluffy bed they have in there that in the hotel here, and I was kidding Linda about maybe we could bring that bed in there. I could lay in and get my talk from that bed. It's just so comfortable. I didn't want to get out of it. And but it's amazing how it's Saturday morning how we can wake up instead of coming to. I don't care what's going on in your world today. It beats being drunk. I didn't wake up in jail this morning like I have on all the Saturday mornings and went to an institution or a hospital somewhere, so it's great to be alive. I used to go to meetings, hear these guys and gals stand up and say, I swear to God I would never be like my mother or my father. They were a drunk and I would never want to be a drunk like them. And when I was a kid growing up, I swear to God I would never be like either one of my mother or my father when I got older. And the reason was because they didn't drink. They were the most boring people I'd ever been involved with in my entire life. My buddy Freddie lived down the street, a kid I ran around with. His father was a rip-roaring drunk. He was an alcoholic, and God, there was always excitement at Freddie's house. The cops are there, he's throwing the TV through the front window. We're out looking for his father's been missing for a few days. We get his father out of jail. I mean, there's always excitement going on. And in my house, it was just, They just didn't drink. I mean, you could buy a six-pack and last them a year. I'm one of 7 kids in my family. There's 7 children. I'm the middle child. And to this day, they go from 72 down to age 59. None of my brothers and sisters ever had a problem with drinking or drugs. I've got 2 children. I've got a son who's about 49 years of age. And he's never had a problem with drinking or drugs. I got a daughter, 42, 43 years of age. She's never had a problem with drinking or drugs. I got 8 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. And to this point, none of these kids have ever had a problem with drinking. So I don't know whether I tried to make up for the whole damn family or what happened. I took to drinking like a duck takes the water. First time I drank, I got drunk. The last time I drank, I got drunk. And every time in between, I drank to get drunk. I'm a late bloomer by day's standards. I go to meetings today, I look around and see all these young people in AA, and I see them in AA now. They're sober. When I started drinking, I didn't start drinking when I was about 14 or 15 years of age. I'll never forget the first time I took a drink, a real drink of booze. I was 14, not quite 15. I'm going to a party, and we all lied to our parents that we're going to stay at each other's houses, and one of the guy's parents was going to be away for the weekend. We're going to have a party at his house. Never drank before, and we got to get some booze to take to the party, and I hear a lot of guys end up on wine. I started on wine. My first bottle of wine, now, I don't know how much my first ice cream cost, my first Pepsi Cola cost, or anything else. My first bottle of wine cost 51 cents. And that's a long time ago. In fact, I bought 2 of them. And Madeira port wine. And I ended up, we're going to go to this party at one of these guys' houses, and I want to sit in the front seat. We had a 1949 Mercury. We're going to this party, and back in like 1954, and not quite 1955. And he's got a 49 Mercury, and I want to sit on the gunshot seat, the right side, in case we see some girls, try to get them to get in the car and take them to the party with us. I want to lay my arm over the window like this, make it look like I got a muscle or something, little skinny arms, and they said, no, you get in the back seat. So I got in the back seat. Took my 2 bottles of wine back there, and I drank one. I'm going to the party. I mean, I never experienced nothing like this in my entire life when I started drinking. I mean, that baby hit the bottom. It just, I was like a lion in a cage, and I started drinking. It opened that door and let this lion come roaring out. My personality is like a big piece of Swiss cheese. I was nothing solid about me at all. I was full of holes, just nothing solid. And I started drinking. Those holes filled up, and I became something. I was better looking, I was taller, I was smarter, I was tougher. I mean, it just changed. AA says, you want to see someone getting sober, look for a profound change in personality. I went through a profound change in personality when I started drinking. I became somebody I never thought I could be. And I got drunk, I went to that party, I drank the other bottle of wine, drank some more booze. My very first time out drinking, I got really drunk. I knew I fell into a Christmas tree garden that night. I knew I fell into a bathtub that night. I know I leaned out a window to throw up, and I fell out a window that night. I had my first blackout. They told me things the next day I did. I couldn't remember. And and my drinking, I hear guys talk about 1 or 2 or a few my whole drinking was blackout drinking. I had a lot of blackouts. I used to tell my wife, I said, I feel so sorry. I can't remember all these things you tell me I did. She said, you feel bad. I do remember them. But I mean, I was plagued with blackouts. And so the very first time, and from then on out, I drank. By the time I was 15 years of age, I drank almost every single day. Now, you talk about trying to hide a bottle in your house. Try to hide a punk 15-year-old kid in your house that's drunk all the time. And my parents didn't know what to do with me. They'd never seen nothing like me in the whole family. And so they sort of tolerated me, and I wasn't there a lot, but when I was there, they tolerated it, and they didn't know what to do with me. God bless them. And I found myself getting married when I was 17. Most people get married when you're 17, unless 1 or 2 reasons. You're crazy or someone's drunk or pregnant. And we were a little bit of both. And Nancy and I got hooked up, and I got married when I was 17 years of age, and never forgot we got married April the 20th, 1958. Had a son born July 20th, 1958. 3 months later, I told everybody he was born premature. He weighed about 8 pounds. They said that first one, can come anytime. That second one's going to take you 9 months. And then the following year we had another child, and meanwhile I'm drinking all this time. I got booted out of high school. I don't even have a formal education. I sat there listening. Sometimes I'm a butcher at the English language. Sometimes I ask my sponsor, first time he asked me speaking something, like I said, why do you ask? I'm not a public speaker. I don't have a formal education. I'm a butcher of the English language. He said, they didn't ask you for those. They asked you not because you're a public speaker, they asked you because you were a public drunk. And AA is a message of the heart. And so, but here I got booted out of school, and I had to get a job. I got a job in the factory working on the waterfront. And I had to, go out on my own and start a family and rent a little house. And meanwhile, I'm drinking all the time. I mean, I'm talking about drinking all the time. I put my family through hell. And my second child was born, and then 3 months later, she passed away. She died. And I use that excuse to drink. If your daughter died, you drink too. If you had all this responsibility and you're 18, 19 years of age, you drink too. And all I'm saying, you can look out and find any reason in the world to drink, but until you look inside here, you're not going to get an answer. And I drank because I was an alcoholic. I drank because I couldn't help but drink. And I was an action drunk. My whole philosophy was live fast, die young, and be a handsome corpse. Let it all hang out. Don't miss nothing. I'm the kind of guy who would go out and I'd be drinking with a bunch of guys, and someone would say, and I'm married with a couple kids, and someone said, let's go down to, it's about a 2-hour drive, 2.5 hours, let's go down to Ocean City and finish this drinking out tonight. Let's go. And we get down there and we get on the beach and we're drinking, having a good time, and all of a sudden, sun's coming up, I'm thinking, man, I didn't go home last night. She is really going to be mad. Nancy's really going to be mad. Then I get thinking, give me a drink. And I get thinking, who the hell is she to tell me when I got to come home anyway? I'm already 1 day late, why not be 2? Why not be 3? One time I went out for a drink and came back like 8 weeks later. I mean, I was just a jerk. I mean, I would not want to be married to a jerk like me, but that's the kind of behavior I was doing. And my actions, because I was a barroom drinker, I loved the bar rooms, and I was an action drunk. I go into a place, I want to look for some action. I never met a drink I never liked. And I never met a bar I never liked. And I treat AA the same way. I never met a group I never liked. I'm not one of these kind of guys that, I know people in AA won't go to certain meetings because there's certain people there. I never drank like that. You ever stick your head in a bar and say, anybody in here don't like me? Just go in. You belong there. You got a chair there. Just go in and belong there. And so here I was constantly in trouble and drinking, and I remember I was living in Anne Arundel County. I grew up in a nice little neighborhood, and family had a nice house on the water and a little picket fence. It was nice. It was nice. And but because of my drinking, my behavior, and lack of education, and only having a job in a factory or something, I had to move these little rented houses, and because of my behavior, my action, I remember I was only 19 years of age, not quite 20. I got into a fight with a couple of police officers one night in the bar. I was always sort of a big kid anyway, and I got in a fight with these police officers. Next thing I knew, I'm being arrested for assaulting the police officers and resisting arrest and disorderly conduct, and they even charged me with verbal assault. You know what that is? That's when you got a filthy mouth and you tell people to do things they physically can't do, and the police frown on that. And so I found myself going to the county jail for that, and then going to court, and then through a good lawyer and everything else, got some of the charges dismissed, and the others were fined in probation. But once you get in a habit of fighting with some police officers, and you get a reputation, and because we'd meet late at night outside a white coffee pot or somewhere, and there'd always be a lot of action going on. So they finally put me in a situation one night where they told me I had to get out of the county, or I'm going to go to jail for a long time, or I'm going to really get hurt. So I found myself in a situation where I moved out of the county and moved to Baltimore City. I never lived in a city before my entire life. And here's a country boy moving to the city for his first time, and all the houses look alike. They're all brick row houses, and I mean, you get drunk, it's hard to find your house at nighttime. And I moved into a low-income area where you could rent a whole house for like $14 a week. And I lived on that street west. It was a 1800 block of Wilhelm Street in West Baltimore. And I guess there might be 2 houses on the street today that's not boarded up. And I remember coming home drunk one night, and I looked across the street and saw a sign that went house rent $13. I moved across the street to save $1. I do stupid things like that. and irresponsible. It was close to the factory. I could get to work because I wrecked my car and lost my license, so I could walk to work or catch a bus to work. And it ended up, I'd come home, and a typical Saturday night on Wilhelm Street is you'd be sitting in your living room probably drinking beer, watching a stolen television, and your front door would bust open, and a guy would run in your front door, through your living room, your dining room, kitchen, out the back door, and down the alley. Then here comes the police officer right behind him, coming in there like that. Saturday night live entertainment on Wilhelm Street. Your gas like you get cut off, you just run an extension cord out your kitchen window, down the wall, into the neighbor's window, pay the difference on the gas and electric bill till you get your gas and electric turned back on. Kids are drinking out of Budweiser beer glasses and any other kind of beer glass I could bring home from a bar, and eating out of a set of dishes I won out of one of these big claw machines one time. And we didn't have nothing. People talk about the fringe benefits of sobriety now that you're sober. I'm gonna tell you what one of mine is. I got a nice house today. I live in a nice house. I got a light bulb in every lamp in my house. When I was drinking, I had 2 light bulbs. I had one in the bathroom and one in the kitchen. And you leave to go to that bathroom, you take it out of the bathroom, go in the bedroom, put it in the bedroom. Go to the bathroom, take it out of the bedroom. In the kitchen, you take it out, put it in the living room. Look, I've been picked up for shoplifting. I could have stole light bulbs, But it was just that, and these houses are all roach infested. I never lived like that as a kid growing up. Here I'm living in West Baltimore, the house is all roach infested. We set off these sulfur bombs and chase all the roaches out of our house, and they'd run down the walls, go to the neighbor's house, and he set his bombs off, they're coming back out. You end up with the same roaches all the time anyway. But they get in your clothes at nighttime, they get in your shoes. I go to work, I'm going like this, one of these things is under my collar, I'm in a factory. And one day I was at work, this guy's looking at me real funny. I looked down, one of these roaches got his head out of my pocket going like this. I'm a hell of a way to have to live, but that's how I lived. And I thought it was okay. And then it got bad. I moved these abandoned summer homes down off the Magathy River, not far from a couple miles from where I used to live as a kid. They had a lot of summer homes down on the Magathy River, which is an inlet off the Chesapeake Bay. And these are old summer homes that didn't have any insulation in them. And people would use them during the summer only. People had money in the city, had these summer homes on the shore, and they'd bring the kids out of school in June, May, Memorial Day, and they moved down until they put the kids back in September in school. And they go fishing and crabbing and hang out there during the summertime. And while they move out in September, I'd move in. And no insulation, so I'd sort of put a kerosene stove in there or board up the windows or something. And half time through the winter, the toilet would freeze over. And you have all these space heaters going and everything. In spring, you move out before they came back. And that's where I was living when I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I guarantee you, I can tell you some exciting stories about me and my drinking, but we're limited on time. I want to get in a little bit of recovery here. There's a lot of things that's happened to me since I've been sober, and I want to share those with you. There's not a person in this room doesn't know how to go out of here today and get a drink if you're an alcoholic. And that wasn't my problem when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I knew how to drink. I didn't know how not to drink, and that's why I started going to meetings, and I still keep coming back to meetings. I go to meetings because I still want to be sober more, and I want to be drunk. And I like to hear about recovery and the excitement, the attraction. So here I am on a bad drunk in 1964, and I was 23, not quite 24 years of age. I'm riding down the highway, and I'm just disgusted with myself. A lot of people had already been disgusted with me, but today I'm disgusted with myself. And I don't know quite what to do. And I'm thinking about committing suicide, and I don't have the courage to do that. And driving this car, thinking about pulling in front of a tractor trailer coming toward me or what to do. And be my luck, I wouldn't get killed. I'd be a paraplegic or something the rest of my life. And I don't know, but when my daughter died, I turned off God and anything decent in my life. I don't want to hear about God. If there's a good, loving God, well, why did he let my daughter die? Things like this. Well, we had another daughter a few years later, but. So here I'm riding down the highway. I saw this little church on the side of the road. I didn't know what kind of church it was. I don't know nothing about that church. I saw this little church on the side of the road, a little white church sitting up on a hill, and I said, I need to talk to somebody for some reason or another. Through the grace of God, I went to that little church, and there was a little minister sitting in the church, and I went in and sat down and talked to him about all my problems. I got marriage problems, financial problems, law problems, all kind of problems. But he said, well, and he listened to me. He said, your biggest problem is your drinking. If you could do something about that, I can help you with the rest of these problems. But we got to do first things first. He said, I can't help you with your drinking problem. But he said, I'll tell you what, I got a member of my congregation who's a member of a thing called Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd heard about Alcoholics Anonymous and sort of halfway about it. In fact, we used to get drunk in the bar sometime, and people say, you ought to go to them 3 A's. And what the hell was that? So right. And anyway, there was a little air coming out of that vent there. So, but we talk about going to. He said you ought to go to. We ought to go to. We thought it was Alcoholics Anonymous Association. I didn't know it was 2 A's till I got here. And so I ended up. He said, "I want you to meet this guy and let him take you to maybe let him tell you what he did about his life. He's a lot like you, not quite as wild, but he had a drinking problem. He did something about it. Maybe he could help you." Now I don't know what I was looking for, but I certainly didn't like what I had. And I met this guy Larry that night, and I went to my first AA meeting. And I walked into a room. It was a small room with maybe about 20, 25 people at the most. And the men in there, all of them looked like they were 100 years old. I'm 23. If they had hair, it was white. Most of them seemed to be bald-headed, and there wasn't many women in the room. And they had nicknames like Boxcar Smitty and Johnny Budweiser and One-Eyed Jack and Cadillac Bob, and they were talking about how long they drank. Most of them drank longer than I was old. And I'm looking around, and they told me about this being a disease and not a disgrace. And back in the 60s, it was looked as a disgrace. Alcoholism was. Trust me. And the most noble thing for a person like me to do is, if I'm not sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, is to be drinking. But you have a disease, not a disgrace. And being a typical con man, I always have been most of my life. I found I could use AA to get the heat off. Now, we got a lot of phonies in AA, but they don't throw none of us out. And I found myself using Alcoholics Anonymous like I used everything else. And I went around and told everybody I knew that I was in AA and I'm going to be different and life is going to be great. And everybody was excited for me. Oh, my mother got a tear coming down her cheek, or my wife's happy. She said, you're going to leave and go out and go to work, come home the same day, and kids are going to go to zoo, and landlord's going to get their rent. Hell, I used to move a lot. I moved 6, 7 times a year. Just cheaper move than pay rent. Just keep moving. And I moved so much, my boss told me to get a post office box. He started changing my address. I moved twice in 1 week one time. And he said, everybody was happy except for one person, me. I don't want to be an alcoholic. I don't want to really be in AA, but I'm going to use this to get the heat off. And it worked for a while. But then, the worst thing about young people in AA, our youth is our worst enemy. We bounce back fast. And I bounced back fast, and all of a sudden, it wasn't drinking I was missing as much as it was the action I was missing. I missed the action. I missed the women. I missed the gambling. I missed the dance and the fighting. I missed the shooting pool. I missed all that action. And I was like a moth drawn to a flame. And I found myself after the meetings, all of a sudden going back to the bar rooms. I'll never forget the first time I went to a bar after coming in Alcoholics Anonymous. Because they said, if you don't want to have a slip, don't hang in slippery places. Associate with sober people, you want to be sober. And I try to hold on old people, places, and things after coming in AA. Now, some people can do this and get away with it, fine. I couldn't. I'll never forget the first time I went to a bar after coming in AA, and I used to hang down the avenue at Sweeney's and Judges, Stadium Lounge, Rhapsody Club, wherever there's a lot of stuff going on. And I remember I was walking up down the street, I'm looking for Easy Does It bumpers and stickers and cars, and I'm looking for AA people around, and it's 10 o'clock at night. I slide in this bar. I used to just walk in like I'm here, you know what I mean? Now I slide up to the bar, it's crowded. The barmaid said, what do you have? I said, I'll take a plain Coca-Cola. And she says, a plain Coca-Cola, and it sounded like E.F. Hutton just said something. The whole bar got quiet. I felt like I had a neon sign saying, AA, AA, AA. And she says, a plain, I said, yeah. She said, okay, and she said, it'd be $2. I watched a guy drink a great big beer inside me for 50 cents. I said, I got my first resentment out of AA. Got a little Coke for $2, big beer for 50 cents. And but because I associate with drinking people, drinking places, doing drinking things, I drank after coming to Alcoholics Anonymous. The same thing happened after I came to AA, it happened before. I get drunk. That's the story of my life. I drink, I get drunk. And when I get drunk, what happens? I get into trouble. Maybe not today or tomorrow. Sooner or later, trust me, I will get into a jackpot. I will do something so stupid you won't believe it. And I went back to drinking, and I remember coming off that drunk and came back to AA. And the first thing I did, I let Larry know how sorry I was. I let him down. He said, whoa, he said, you're 23 years old. He said, I'm 46. I'm twice your age. He said, go in the men's room and take a look in the mirror and take a good look at you and come back and look at me, and I guarantee you, I look better than you do tonight. You take a drink, you let yourself down. He said, if you want to stay sober, he said, I will go to hell and back for you. If you want to take a drink, you're going to have to go there all by yourself. STU is here if you want it. You don't want it, see you later. We're not going to beg you to stay sober. We can't get you sober. We can help you to get sober, but we can't get you sober. You got to want to be sober more than you want to be drunk. You don't have that want, then you better pray for that want. Because if you're going to continue drinking, hey, I'll see you later. And it's here. I guarantee you this, he said. I don't care how bad it is in your life today, and you've been in AA just for a short while. You take a drink, and I guarantee you ain't seen nothing yet. I don't see success stories coming back from people when AA with sobriety go out and take a drink. I don't hear them come back telling me success stories. Invariably, we get back, we say something like this, God, I was bad before. Let me tell you what happened this time. The other guarantee is that no matter how bad it is, you stay sober, you don't take a drink, and nothing gets better, at least you can get better. And as you get better, things will get better. Just give it some time. It takes time to get sick, it takes time to get well. Felt like I got cheated when I came to AA. All these guys got to drink 30, 40 years, and here I got drank for like 8 years. Felt like I got cheated. I wish I could have drank, though, 30 or 40 years before I came here. I even got an attitude about the bars in Baltimore and Annapolis and around the area that closed at 2 o'clock in the morning. And some guys in New York, they're open at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking, damn, I wish I would have lived in New York. You know? Anyway, I went back to drinking. I guarantee you, all the things they told me probably would happen, they started happening to me. Within 7 months, I was living back down these abandoned summer homes. And I'd been on a bad drunk. I mean, a bad drunk. And I went berserk in the summer home. And I ran myself, my fist through the walls. I went my fist through the windows. I just destroyed this house inside. I tried to put my head through a concrete porch. I went sort of berserk that night, and the police were called. They came to the house. The fire department came, an ambulance came, and they had to hold me down and take me to a hospital. I was taken to Annapolis General Hospital. I was sewed up where my hands and arms went through the windows. My wrists were all cut and everything. My head was busted open on the concrete porch. And I'm 24 years of age, and I'm going just absolutely crazy from drinking. And went to my doctor's the next day. He said, Stu, he said, you're 24 years of age. Can't you just stop drinking? I said, no, in fact, I want to drink right now. He said, we'll have to do something about it. And back in those days, we had no treatment centers, no detoxes. You know, we had 3 state mental institutions. And Crownsville and Spring Grove and Springfield State Hospital. And my area was Crownsville, so they said, we're going to have to get you committed to Crownsville. And they got me committed to a state mental institution. Now, when you go to a state hospital, they put you in Annapolis, in the Crownsville, they put you in a building called the Meyer Building. And that's an evaluation building where, you know, you take away your shoestring, your belt, and anything you could hurt yourself, you eat with a big soup spoon, and everything's locked, and windows and doors, everything's locked. It's a locked facility. And try to keep you from harming yourself, and every now and then you get the running fits. They put a self-fitting jacket on you and put you in a little padded room. And after a couple of days, they do an evaluation, and the doctor sat down with me, psychiatrist said, we think you're an alcoholic and you should go to Cottage 15 up on the hill. I said, what do you do up there? He said, you go to AA and you do a little work. I said, excuse me, I didn't come down here to work and go to AA. He said, good, stay right here. I could have been up there walking around smoking cigarettes, no locked facilities, eat with a knife and fork. I chose to stay in the stupid locked ward just because I don't want to say I'm an alcoholic. I spent 6 weeks in that damn place, making ceramic ashtrays and leather wallets and belts, and we did all kind of little stuff, stupid stuff for therapy, and eat with a soup spoon, and be in rooms with crazy people, and we got tired of it after a while, so we asked the doctor, said, can't we do something different? We're tired of making these ashtrays and little wallets and stuff. They said, well, let's try dancing. A bunch of young people like to dance, so they took all of us crazy guys out of one ward and the crazy girls out of another, put us in a room, put a little record player on, and said, go ahead and dance. And I like to dance. I was a little jitterbugger out there, and I saw this cute little blonde. I asked her if she liked to dance, and she said she would, and so we're out there, we're dancing around. I got my wrists all taped up, and my forehead's taped up, and we're dancing, and she says, you tried to commit suicide, didn't you? I said, no. She said, yes, you did. Look at your wrist there. I said, no. I said, they think I'm an alcoholic. And I said, what are you in there for, honey? She says, I killed my husband. I said, you know what? I might be stupid, but I'm not crazy. I'm getting me a new dance partner right now. And all I can say is I stayed in there. The day I got out of there, I got drunk, and I stayed drunk until just moving in and out of different places until the weekend of March the 12th. And I ended up, my last drunk took place downtown Baltimore. I went up there looking for some action, looking for a woman and get some action going. And I was in a bar called the Bucket of Blood up there on Mount Royal and Charles Street, right down from Les Gals and a couple strip joints. And I got hooked up with this gal, and she says she's bisexual. She said she's leaning more toward being a lesbian than she was the other way. And her and I got hooked up and started drinking. And so we're both going to look for a woman. and we were both so drunk, no woman would have nothing to do with neither one of us. So how we went upstairs to Mount Royal Hotel and got a room for $25 and spent the night together ourselves. Now, I don't know what happened in that room all that night. I know the next day more it looked like somebody beat me with a damn rubber hose or something happened, but I was black and blue all over. And I left there and went down to I got out of there like 6 o'clock in the morning because I knew where this bar opened at 6. I called a cab down there and proceeded to drink. And next thing I know, some guy's picking me off the men's room floor of his bar in the county. And there's a guy I work with in the factory on the midnight shift. And he took me home. And I just felt so dirty and so crummy. He took me, I walked in my house, and I walked in the living room, and we had a shadow box mirror on the wall, and I walked in, looked in, and it looked like a monster looking back at me. And I went upstairs, and I shook that drunk out. And that was the March of 12th, 1966, and through the grace of God, I made it back to Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know what happened, but through God's grace, I found myself calling, finding out where a meeting was. I came back to AA, and I surrendered to win. I joined Alcoholics Anonymous. I found there's a big difference between being around AA and being in AA. It's a big difference between being around AA and being in AA. It's sort of like in your room at this hotel. You go in your room, they got a bed in there. You can go around that bed all night long. You can get back and look at that old bed, get down there, smell it, touch it. Don't mean nothing till you get in it. And I thought just coming and sitting in the chair in Alcoholics Anonymous made me in AA, and it doesn't. It's a nice place to get started. It's a nice place to be. But I had to join Alcoholics Anonymous. I looked around, I saw people staying sober, I saw people who weren't staying sober, I decided to join a sober team. And I got an AA and the best way, look, you can get Mr. and Miss AA for a sponsor. You can join the group. You can memorize the 12 steps and get yourself a big book. You can make coffee and clean ashtrays, set up chairs, but if you don't stop drinking, baby, you ain't gonna get sober. The first thing I had to do was I had to stop drinking. And I shook a lot when I stopped drinking. I mean, a lot of people don't do it, but I shook a lot when I stopped drinking. In fact, they said, put one hand under his cheek and one under here, and I guarantee you won't fall out of your chair. I told my sponsor, maybe I can just smoke a little dope or something to calm me down till I get over these shakes. He said, no, he said, we're talking about a program for you called Total Abstinence. Shaking ain't gonna kill you. He said, I've never heard or seen where they put on a death certificate, he shook to death. Booze will kill you, shaking won't. Said, shake it out. And I was so blessed that I got involved with the people I did when I first came in AA. I mean, you talk about being put in the right place and right time and right people. I met a guys who were action people in Alcoholics Anonymous. So I started going to meetings. I met my sponsor at my first meeting. The guy, I hitched like about 13 miles from my house at that first meeting. I didn't have a car, no license or nothing, but I knew where a meeting was. There weren't many meetings back in the 60s in my area. I live about 6 miles north of Annapolis, Maryland, the capital of the state of Maryland, where the Naval Academy is. I got sober. There's one meeting a week in the town of Annapolis. Today they have their own intergroup with 380 some meetings. I've lived in my town I live in, my community is called SEVERNA Park. We've got 3 to 4 meetings, sometimes 5 meetings a day in SEVERNA Park. I got sober one meeting a week in SEVERNA Park. There weren't a lot of meetings around. You had to travel a lot to get to meetings. And Ed lived 2 blocks that meeting. I found him, he took me 13 miles back to my house. He only had to go, instead of going 2 blocks his house, he took me home. And he spoon-fed me Alcoholics Anonymous. He grabbed hold of me, he started taking me to meetings. And action's the magic word. I was in A 7 days. A new guy walks through the door. Ed says, go talk to the new guy. I said, what am I going to tell him? I got 7 days. You go talk to him. You got 2 years, Ed. He said, he doesn't have in 7 days. Tell him about your 7 days. You're not shaking like you were 7 days ago. You know, Bill Wilson didn't wait. He had 2 years sobriety to go talk to Dr. Bob. You know, action's a magic word. Do it now. Nothing else, just offer your handshake to him. Get him a cup of coffee. I loved it when I came back to AA. I walked through the doors. No one put me down. They said, welcome back. It's good to see you. Sit down. Let's have a cup of coffee and talk about it. Stu, it doesn't have to be like this anymore. It can be over now. And I thank God for the welcome I got back to Alcoholics Anonymous. I felt so small when I came back here because I figured you're all going to say, well, look who it is, the punk drunk. Back again. And I felt so small, I felt like I could go into a meeting and crawl on up underneath of an ashtray. And he said, no, come on in, you belong here. And I joined AA. I got myself a sponsor. I joined a group. I got active. I started setting up chairs, making clean ashtrays, making coffee, anything I could do. And that's where it all started for me. I got involved with guys that, you know, I asked them how often should I go to meetings. They said, well, how often did you drink? I said, drank every day. They said, well, go to meetings every day. You know, sometimes, I'm going to share some things with you. Sometimes, you know, we stay sober for a while in AA. And I'll never forget, I had about 7 or 8, 9 years sobriety. I was very active in AA, going to a lot of meetings. I was on the Outer Banks of North Carolina with old Millie Copeland and Isaac sitting down there. We looked like a couple beach whales laying up on the beach. And I said, Millie, I don't hear the things I used to hear when I first came into Alcoholics Anonymous. She said, then why don't you say them? And there's people sitting in this room today that aren't saying things they used to say. She said, look, what got you sober before will get you sober, and keeping you sober will get the next guy or gal sober. You don't change you to fit you don't change AA to fit you. You change you to fit AA. Even the fact I introduced myself as an alcoholic. I have other addictions in my life, but I'm here because I'm an alcoholic. I identify myself as an alcoholic. I hear guys say they're addicts. Look, I got friends of mine that are addicts. They have food addictions, gambling addictions. Trust me, these guys can drink. So I think we need to take a step above that. And that's why I go above that. Say, I'm here because I'm an alcoholic. Do I have other addictions that compulsion? I didn't get this big not eating. Okay? I got a lot of little problems in my life. But I'm here, and if I can take care of my alcoholism problem, I can take those 12 steps and God and support of friends and everybody else to handle some of these little areas of my life. And so, you know, in fact, I took a guy one time, he was a cameraman at Channel 13. He's got 33 years sobriety now. I took him to a meeting one time, and we're sitting in a little meeting, and he started going around the room introducing himself, and this girl says, my name is Betsy, and I'm powerless over alcohol. And Ernie says, my name's Ernie, I can't drink. And Rebecca says, I'm an addict. Someone else said they're dually addictive. Someone else even said they're polyaddictive. And called on Norman, he said, what are you? He said, I'm a Democrat. You know? So we just try to keep it simple. I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I introduce myself as an alcoholic. You know, that's why I do that. And it's part of my responsibility. So anyway, I got involved in AA, and these guys are crazy. They were crazy about their recovery, and to the point that I went to meetings every night. I didn't have a car. So I said, how am I going to get to meetings? I don't have a car. They said, you don't need a car to get drunk. You don't need a car to get sober. You get to meetings, we'll get you home. Stand in the corner, we'll pick you up. It was the simple, basic things that got me sober. It's kept me sober to this point. Eventually, I asked them, I said, I keep hearing about the 12 steps. When should I start working these 12 steps? They said, when do you want to get sober? How many steps away from a drink do you want to be tonight? You want to be 1 step away or 12 steps away from a drink? It's 3 o'clock in the morning, you can't sleep, think of the 3rd step. It's 4 o'clock, think of the 4th step. 1 o'clock, think of the 1st step. You think AA, it'll think for you. These guys are crazy. I started working with a lot of drunks. And I used to 12-step them on a bus. I'd take them to meetings on buses. And finally, I stayed sober for a year, and I bought a car. My first car in AA. And it was an old ex-veterans GI taxi cab. They took off the streets of Baltimore City because it wasn't safe to carry people. And I bought it for $50. Red, white, and blue. Veterans GI taxi cab. Took the dome off the top, pushed the wires in, put some duct tape over, keep the rain out. Spray painted the doors. Now I'm going to meeting in it. Went down to the junkyard and bought a battery for $3 and put some new plugs in it, got it running, and now I'm going to meetings. Now I'm working with a lot of drunks. And all the old drunks, because I was 25, 26 years of age, they would dump all the young drunks on me. And I started taking all these young drunks to meetings. And the first thing the young drunks says, they look around a typical room back in the 60s, they say, where's all the young people at? I said, they go to meetings on the other side of Baltimore. I said, we'll go there Tuesday night. Okay. Well, we go there Tuesday night. There was no young drunk standing sober over there. I told my sponsor, I'm not lying. I'm romancing the truth a little bit. But I'm just trying to buy him some time, make him realize it doesn't matter about the age. Not how much you drank or what you drank. It's what happens to you when you do drink. Young drunks don't live long enough being old drunks nowadays with dual addiction with the drugs and everything combined. So, and when I said, we go there, they weren't there. I said, they must be in the Catonsville area. We'll go there Friday night to the step meeting. There'll be some there. I'm just buying us some time. Now, what's funny, 40 years go by. I work with a bunch of old drunks. I'll pick an old guy up, take him to the meeting, he look around the room like yesterday, said, where the hell's all the old people at? I said, they're on the outside of Baltimore. We'll get over there Tuesday night. So it really doesn't matter. The most important thing, you get here right when you're supposed to get here. And it's funny, God's got a sense of humor. I had an old man who used to give me a hard time. He was 75 years old when he got sober. Wow. He said, I wish I could have found this when I was 25. And he just kept throwing at me and throwing at me. And God's got a sense of humor. He had a 12-step call on a guy one night, 83 years old. And you know what happened? They're riding down the road, and the old man, 83, said, damn, I wish I could have found this when I was 75. You get here right when you're supposed to. So in that first year of my sobriety, I got involved, I got active, going to a lot of meetings, and got hooked up with 4 other guys, and they said, hey, Bill Wilson's got his anniversary coming up in October. We're going to New York to Bill Wilson's anniversary. I said, who's Bill Wilson? They said, all he is the co-founder of the program that saved your life, and when the old man dies, you can go up there and thank him before he passes away. So come along October, 5 of us jump in this old Lincoln Continental, we go to New York, and 5 of us get a room at the Americana Hotel, and 5 of us in one room, 3 beds and 2 cots in there. And then we go to Bill Wilson's anniversary, and on Saturday morning they had what is called out-of-towners meeting, where all of us new people to New York for the first time for Bill's anniversary. We went to a little room, and we sat in that room, and Bill and Lois came down and gave a little talk. They stood on a little platform and gave us a little talk. And afterwards, we could get in a big circle and walk around, walk up and shake his hand and say a few words to him. And I'll never forget when I got to him, I said, Bill, I just want to thank you for letting God use you as an instrument to find the program to save my life. And all he said was, pass it on. Pass it on. That's our purpose for being Alcoholics Anonymous. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. It's a gift. You want to keep it, you got to try and give it away. And the more you give, the more you receive. I went back 3 more years, his anniversary, before he passed away. He got sick, he couldn't do it, and the morning he passed away. What a blessing, what a gift that was given to me. And I did it, I didn't know why I did it, I just did it because they told me to do it. It's like people go to meetings and they said they thought the first step was get in the car. Okay? You just do it. No questions, just do it. It's like a light switch. You don't have to understand electricity. Just put the switch up, it goes on, it goes off. You know what I mean? Just do it. And so I got active, and I started going to a lot of meetings. All of a sudden, I'm going to meetings. Every time I speak, I had a speech impediment. I stuttered a lot. I used to stutter like that. And my sponsor said, what? I found by talking fast, I don't stutter. So you got to listen fast. Indiana's not bad. Go down south, go to Georgia, Alabama. I'm bad news down there. I talk fast. In fact, they have a joke. They take me down there like 45 and play me back 33 and a third later and see what the hell I said while I was there. You know what I mean? But I used to go to meetings. I was always squinching. My sponsor said, what's the matter with you? I said, I can't see. He said, get some glasses. I said, I look better without them. He said, you ain't here to win a beauty contest. You're here to get sober. Talk with my hand like this all time in my mouth. He said, get your hand out of your mouth. We can't understand you. Half my teeth are missing. You hang where I hung at the bucket of blood and places like that, you ain't going to have a lot of teeth. You never had your teeth knocked out. You didn't just drink in some nice places I used to drink in. Get some new teeth. Got new teeth. You know. I learned a whole new vocabulary coming to Alcoholics Anonymous. I went to a meet one night, and it was a Beltsville group outside of College Park, Maryland. They had the word Beltsville, and they had the word group spelled G-R-O-U-P. Grow up. And that's what I've been trying to do a day at a time, Alcoholics Anonymous, is just grow up. I told you I used to, when I got sober, I missed the action. I was attracted to the bright lights and everything. My sponsor said, see that sign outside blinking off and on? It says bar, B-A-R, bar, B-A-R. For you, that means beware, alcohol, run. Stay the hell out of drinking places. And I used all these little catchy things to help me stay sober. I couldn't understand. Look, we used to have a raffle at the meetings when I came in. I always raffled off a big book. Well, I win a big book. Next thing you know, I'm running around A like this with my big book on my arm. My sponsor said, what you got there? I said, big book. I said, everybody in AA should have a big book. He said, open it up, read me a paragraph. I read it. He said, what did he say? I said, I don't know. Put the book down. A lot of people can come in AA. The first meeting, start reading, and they're great. You ain't one of them. You go to meetings, you listen and talk with drunks. And that's what I started doing. Started, going to meetings, listening, and talking with drunks. And started enjoying life. Had an old lady walk up to me one night. She said, Stu, are you really, really happy? I said, yeah. She said, when are you going to tell your face about it? When are you going to start smiling? AA is not an endurance contest. It's not a place you just came in here. It's called the joy of good living. Don't be afraid to smile and have fun being sober. And if you've been here a while and you're not having fun, somewheres you missed the boat. Somewheres you missed the boat. I go to meetings sometimes. I love going to a meeting where there's a lot of noise, excitement, and energy. Sometimes I go to a meeting, I feel like I walk into a morgue. I'm looking for a dead body somewhere in the corner. Let's get alive. Hey, we're alive. Hey, we're sober. You realize how many drunks don't never get a chance even to come to AA and die out there? And how we were given the privilege, the gift to come here, not only to get sober, but to stay sober? I thought I could just come in, sit in a chair, and get sober. Somebody hit with a magic wand. My sponsor said, it doesn't work out. Well, you just don't sit in a chair and get sober. He said, if it's that easy, go home and put a chair in your garage and sit in and see if you turn into a car. Okay? It ain't going to happen. You got to take some action. And he said, start taking a bath on a regular basis. Brush your teeth. Comb your hair. Clean up. You know why I go to meetings? I don't get all dressed up most of the time when I go to meetings. Most of the time I go to meetings, I do clean up. Put a clean pair of pants on a shirt. You know why? I don't want to look like a new man when I walk through the door. That's why I clean up. It's a program of attraction. And get active. I had a lot of success being sober. Went back to school and finished up, got a GED. I didn't do it for me. I didn't need it. I did it for my father. My father, at my family's home, had all of my brothers and sisters' diplomas hanging on the wall in his room. And they came like, my two younger sisters, my brothers, diploma. Here's me. Bing, bing, bing. And I gave it to him for a Christmas present one year, and he hung it up there, and he just started crying. You know, what a gift. And I've had a lot of success. I worked in a factory 22 years. I got out of there. I went into sales. I went in the insurance business, the real estate business, and I made a bad decision. Look, if you don't do nothing, you're not going to make a bad decision. And I made some really big decisions. Sometimes they worked out and sometimes they didn't. But I didn't have to get drunk over none of them. I made a decision in 1981 to get into real estate. In 1981, the interest rates were 18%. My sponsor said, what are you doing getting into real estate? And, nothing's moving. I said, well, when I get it going here and the market breaks, I'm going to make a lot of money. Well, the only thing that went broke was me. My sponsor said, you ever see a big flock of geese going south in the fall? They're all in a big V going south, and there's one damn dumb goose going north. That's a bramble goose. Everybody's getting out of real estate, and you're getting into it. And so we take chances sometime, and I didn't get drunk over it. I had to just regroup and start all over again. Then I got into marketing and a few things, and life's an exciting adventure. And I ended up having a lot of success being sober. I made a lot of money. I've seen times I made a lot of money. I saw times I was broke, but I didn't have to get drunk over neither one of them. Probably the most tragic thing happened to me in my sobriety was one of the worst things I went through. I went through divorce after 22 years of sobriety. And I don't recommend that for anybody, but if it happens, it happens. I didn't have to get drunk over it. And Nancy and I had a lot of marriage problems for a long time, and we separated 4 or 5 times, and finally we decided to call it quits. And we sat down, and we didn't have she was very active in Al-9, and we didn't bring it into AA meetings. everybody, all of our friends and our sponsors, everybody else knew that what was going on, and we decided to get an attorney to sit down with us and draw up a legal separation. And I moved in with an old man in AA, and he was a widower and had plenty of room, so I moved in with him. She stayed in the house, and we wrote up a separation agreement of 2 years, volunteer separation agreement, so neither one of us would jump out of the frying pan into a fire, get somebody to fix us, give us time to get some counseling, and after about 3 years, we finalized and got a divorce. And it's the old story, you know, we split everything 50-50, and actually what happened was we had this joke going that we threw everything up in the air, which stayed I got, and what came down she got. And she got the inside, I got the outside of the house. And I was kidding all of our friends after 3 years, she didn't want the house. I bought her out of the house, and she bought a townhouse. And we still remained friends. We still used to have dinner and stuff and went our separate ways. And I was kidding her friends one time. I said, God, she cleaned me out. I mean, I moved back, and her brother's sisters showed up. Her vicious Al-Anon friends showed up, and told her that I'm going to screw her before it's all over with. Take everything you can take. They took the chandeliers. I mean, they took everything. And I told some of her friends I knew to get back to her. She said, what you doing telling all of our friends that I took everything? I said, I owe you an apology, and I'm sorry about that. I said, I was wrong. I looked in the attic. You all forgot the insulation. And so that was a tough thing to do. But we sat down, and we made a deal that we're both involved in the program. And we both went a lot of the same meetings at one time. So we decided that she'll take these 3 meetings, I'll take these. She'll go to this convention. She'll go to the state convention. I'll go to Sessions. I'll go to Blackstone. She'll go to this. And we never brought it into AA. We never put our friends in a situation where, you know, they had choose sides and just caused a lot of controversy. And we kept it out of the program. Yeah, all of our friends and everybody knew about it. But there was enough meetings that we could separate and go to different places. And finally we got a divorce, and neither one of us ever remarried for a long time. And then I guess about almost 5 years ago, she called me, told me she had cancer. And I said, wow, I'm sorry to hear that. She had had it once before, and it was taken 4 years ago, and they thought it was taken care of. And it came back on her, and she called me up. She said, Stu, the cancer came back. I said, wow, I am so sorry to hear that. She said, call the kids. So I called the kids and got the kids involved. Went down, and I said, do you mind if I come down to the hospital and see what I can do to help? She said, I would like that. And I mean, I had a lady friend in my life anyway, and she had a guy friend in her life, but neither one was married. And I got involved in with the situation. The doctor said it's terminal. I gave her maybe about 6 months to live. She was 61 years old. And the guy I was going with, Kathy, I told Kathy, I said, Kathy, Nancy's really sick. I said, she's the mother of my children. I said, I've known her since she's 13 years of age, and I want to go back and do everything I can to help her. It's called living amends. It's a hell of one thing to say you're sorry to somebody for putting the screws to them or hurting them, putting to a lot of pain it is to go back and try to put your money where your mouth is. And I said, I want to go back and do everything I can to make life good for her the last 6 months of her life. And I was retired, and I had an opportunity to get up and go down there at 5:30 in the morning when her girlfriends were leaving to go work. She had dropped out of Al-Anon, got a new set of friends and all. And I stayed down there until they got off of work, and then I'd leave. And I remember one day I was being down there with her, and I was just sitting there in the living room, and she started crying, and she never cried before. She got involved with church and found Jesus Christ and everything, and she felt good about all that stuff. And she started crying. I put my arms around her, and I started crying. And I just told her how sorry it was, all the pain I'd put her through all of her life. And she said, I owe you some apologies too. And we told each other we still loved each other, and I told her I would be here for her all the way to the end. And I was. And what a gift God gave me. What a gift he gave me, the opportunity to do something like that. And that wasn't me. That was Alcoholics Anonymous. It was God acting, you know, through me, through you, and to be there. And it also got so much respect back to me from my children who saw this terrible marriage go apart after almost 30 years. And I was there for all the way up to the end. And then what was neat was about, I guess 6 months later, I'd been doing some lighthouse keeping with this young lady. You don't want to say you're shacking up, you know, but I was traveling a lot. We were living together, and we called it light housekeeping. And I told Kathy, I said, you know, we're getting older. I said, you know, I can't believe what kind of person you are. Let me go and do this for my ex-wife. And you're such a terrific guy, and I love you. And I said, why don't we just go and get married? And so we ended up getting married 3.5 years ago, and we had a big wedding. Went down to the courthouse, just her and I. I told her I'm going to pay for everything. Don't worry about it. And I'd known Kathy for 20 years. She's not one of us. She's not in the program. She doesn't go down on AA. And she has her own program, and she's just a good person. And I'd known her for, like I said, 20 years. So we got married, and it was boat week in Annapolis. It took longer to find a parking place than it was to get married. And went and had a little dinner, went and told her family and told my family, visited our families, and everybody's all excited. So that's a new adventure in my life, being married again. And that's been absolutely wonderful. She didn't take me as a hostage. I didn't take her as a hostage. She lets me come and go to the conventions by myself, and she's caught up in our music and different things. And not only is she a good person, she's very attractive. And not only that, she's got a job. You know? I'm retired. I married a gal with a job, and that helps a little bit. And so we got a lot of good things going for us. And then I hit the jackpot. My son-in-law, after Nancy passed away, with my grandchildren, and he said, they were my daughter and her husband very successful, and he was very successful in business. And he said, both of my parents are deceased, and so is Nancy, Dawn's mother, and you're the only grandparent my children have. We're going to take care of you. I said, look, you don't have to take care of me. My house is paid for. I'm sober. I saved my money. I paid my house off. I got a woman to marry, a wonderful gal, has a job, she's got an income coming in. I got a pension, and Social Security. Now we're going to take care of you. We're going to make life good for you. I said, you don't do that. And he was at that time president of sports entertainment for a large company with about 260,000 employees. Had 175 vice presidents under him. He had tickets to everything. So he started carrying me to all these sporting events. Hell, I've been to Super Bowls and home run derbies and all-star games. They give you a typical weekend. He calls me up and he says, what are you doing next week? In 2 weeks. I said, nothing. He said, be at my house. We're leaving Saturday morning. We have a limo pick us up and take us to the airport. We fly first class to Las Vegas. We check at the MGM Hotel. We got ringside seats for the Oscar de Hoya Bernard Hopkins championship fight. Next morning, we have a Cadillac Escalade waiting for us to take us to California. Drive into LA. We check into Hilton. We have a stretch limo picking us up at 3 o'clock. We're going to the Emmy Awards. I get out of the Emmy Awards. I'm walking up the red carpet with all these celebrities and everybody. And I started laughing. He said, what's so funny? I said, this is a hell of a long way from Crownsville State Hospital. You know that? So I go to the Emmy Awards, and afterwards go to the Governor's Ball. Next morning we fly back. We have a suite at the Viking and Minnesota Viking Eagles game. And I mean, I'm just living a dream. Takes us down to the islands twice a year and go to Caribbean. I never turned on my first computer until I was 60 years old. I never went scuba diving until I was 65 years old. I never went hot air balloon riding until I was 65 years of age. I'm living life. I was listening to them the other night when you were talking about having the Corvette living in a trailer. Hell, you know what? The sad thing is, and I mean, they treat me like they can't do enough for me. They can't do enough for me. I hear people talking about children giving them hell. I can't believe what my children done for me. It's unbelievable. I sat there and cry sometimes when I think the gifts they've given me, the things, the love. And all I do is just try to babysit for them and be there for them when they need me. And it's just unbelievable. So, bad news comes last September. He's quitting his job. I mean, he called me up and said, look, I got a suite at the Oriole Stadium, and it's right off third base, and we have your chef in there, and we're having crab cakes, and you go in there, all the food and the drinks, you got a waitress, and I invite 14 of my friends to the game, parking, everything. I was the man in my group. Guys couldn't wait till I got some free tickets or something. I'm taking all-star games, all kind of things. So he tells me he's quitting his job. I said, you're what? My party's over. I mean, I'm the man in my home group and around the area. Now he said, I've been offered CEO positions with other companies and things, and it's time to move on. Been there 10 years. And he left, and they felt bad for me. And I was listening to your talk the other night, but you live in a trailer with the Corvette and everything. I go to the house and said, we felt so terrible about you not being good to these games and everything. We bought you a new car. I said, I got a nice car. I just bought a new car last year. I got one, a Chrysler 300 with a C, with a Hemi engine. I love that power, you know. He said, we got something for you. It's in the garage. It's used, but it's nice. He said, a friend of ours didn't get a good trade-in on his car, and he took this car, and he bought it, we bought it for you. And it was a 2001 Millennium yellow Corvette convertible. So here I am, an old man, 65 years old now, riding around a Corvette. I love that power, you know. And my life is so exciting. It's like living a dream. And but the most important thing is I still love to go to meetings. I still work with drunks. I'm still active in AA. I still participate. And I guess the last thing I want to share with you, as time's run down here, my life is exciting. So anyway, I guess about 6 years ago, my mother had passed away about 11, 12 years ago. My father couldn't take care of himself. He had to go move into an assisted living home. And he didn't want to go in there in the beginning. He was like 87 years old and 88 years old. He didn't want to go in there, but after he went in there for a while, it dawned on him. He was one of 10 men with 65 women. And he's like an old rooster in the hen house. He never used a cane or a walker or nothing, and he had a little step to him, and them old ladies fell in love with him, and he fell in love with that assisted living home, and every year I go down at Christmas, there's a different woman he's going to marry. And he was excited, and he said, look, I'm getting at the age where I need someone to take care of my legal affairs and take care of everything for me. He said, I want you to be my power of attorney. I want you to take control over my life and make all my decisions for me. And my sister said, how come you picked him instead of one of us? He said, because I can trust him and I can depend upon him. He says something, I know he's for real, he will be there. You won't do that. He said, that's the kind of person my son's turned out to be. And I've taken guys down to see him when he was down there, and we'd leave, and the lady running the place said, my father would sit there and cry. When I left, he'd tell these people, you don't know what my son's been through and where he's at now. You would not believe that boy, what he's done with his life. So anyway, he got sick about a year ago, this past September. I went down, did everything good, take care of him, and finally he was 94 years of age, and it came to the end. And I was there to be able to be with him all the way up to the very end. And I stayed down at that assisted living home for a couple of days, and my sister came down, and my daughter came down, and people came in and out, and I stayed there with him, and made life as comfortable, as easy as I could. And I kept telling him, Dad, it's time to go home, be with Mom, go home to the garden. It's time to go home. And I was at his bedside when he took his last breath. In fact, I was on the side of the bed, and I had his head in the palm of my hand. I'm on my knees on the side of that bed, and my daughter's got my other hand, and we're around the bed. And I'm telling him to go home. And my father had been in like a coma for 2 days. And his eyes opened real wide, and he looked at me, and his mom was like, I love you. And he left. What a gift God gave me. What a gift God gave me. What an opportunity to me to be there when he left this world, and he was there when I came in. He took care of me in the beginning. I took care of him at the end. What a gift God gave me. All because of you people and staying sober a day at a time. I got some exciting days coming up in front of me. I got Grandparents' Day to do, come up, and my grandson's got Grandparents' Day on the 14th of May, and I will be there for him again this year. And I was there for my granddaughter, be there for her Grandparents' Day on the 14th, I think, or the 19th. And I'll never forget the first time I went to Grandparents' Day and for my grandchildren, and my granddaughter goes to a private school and had Grandparents' Day, and the grandparents show up. I never forget when I walked through and walked in her classroom, she jumps up and tells everybody, there's my papa. Man, you can't buy that. You can't buy that. How close we come to missing it just like that. How close we came to missing it. Get a chance to go to New York twice a year with them, go to Broadway plays. Nothing like sitting in a Lion King, and you're sitting next to your 11-year-old granddaughter, and she's holding on to your arm, and she looks up and she said, Pop, I love you. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. We are so blessed to be able to get sober and live such a wonderful life and know that we can get rid of it just like that by taking a drink. We were talking this morning about breakfast. We got a disease keeps telling us we don't have a disease. We got a built-in forgetters. It's so easy to forget. So easy to get complacent. I'm going to end it with this. I think it's so important for the new person coming to Alcoholics Anonymous that we make them as welcome as we were welcomed. And I want you to just ask yourself a couple of little questions. When was the last time you gave your telephone number to a new person at Alcoholics Anonymous? When was the last time you offered a new person a ride to a meeting? When was the last time you just sat down and have a cup of coffee with a new person? You know, you give your number to him. When is the last time you took his number and you gave him a call? Dr. Bob didn't call Bill Wilson. Bill Wilson called Dr. Bob. Don't be afraid to call into a person. Make them feel welcome. I love Alcoholics Anonymous. It's been the greatest thing that happened to me in my entire life, was to be able to come here and not only get sober, but to stay sober. And I want to thank you, not only outside of myself, with my family wants to thank you. My friends want to thank you. Thank you, and God bless you.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down. And then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.